this is Tracy with Watch Kansas, and today we are speaking with Greg Conchola, and he is running for the Kansas House. Greg, do you want to tell us a little bit about what's going on and what you're running for?
Well, my name is Greg Conchola, and I was born and raised in District 32 at the old St. Margaret's Hospital, and I still live there. I've been a lifelong resident, and as well as my parents still living there, and was a Kansas City, Kansas police officer. I retired about 6 years ago from.
It's a big jump to go from being a police officer to being in the Kansas legislature. What encouraged you to take this jump to run?
Well, after 25 years with Kansas City, Kansas Police Department, I serve my community. I want to continue serving my community, and this is the way to do it. I know that one of the biggest issues that the residents of District 32 tell me that they're concerned about is crime. And it's a way to give the police department tools in order to fight crime.
Now, with living in this area your entire life, do you feel like you have a finger on the pulse of the community? Do you feel like you know the community that you live in and that you have the knowledge to help provide these resources to the state?
Oh, absolutely. There's many residents that I talk to on a daily basis. In my neighborhood and surrounding neighborhoods. I was a business owner in Strawberry Hill for a while. I opened a nonprofit gym. I was the founder of the Kansas City, Kansas Police Athletic League and operated that until about 2016. I helped kids from all over the neighborhood, all over the community.
Now, I've heard a lot of people say that boxing gym really had an impact on the crime in the community. Do you feel it had a big impact on the crime, and what kind of an impact do you feel it had and why?
Yes, it did. It gave the kids something positive to do with their time rather than hang out in a street corner and maybe, fall prey to bad influences, and where otherwise, good kids would have been coerced into doing something they would not normally do. But, peer pressure is a big thing with kids. And if they had a more positive influence, then I felt more confident that they would not get into trouble, and it seemed to have worked.
Now, I know while you had the gym, I talked to one of the guys that used to work on the KCK PD, that used to work with on the gang intervention, whatever they called that, and he said that when it went in, that he saw that the tagging decreased. Would that have would that be similar to, as a police officer, if the tagging and such goes down, the spray painting all over, would that really kind of also show the crimes going down?
Yes, kids, they want to fit in. They want to fit in with their peers, with their friends, and they want their families to be proud of them. But sometimes, like I said, they're talked into doing things that are not very constructive. And by giving them a place to where they could come in and fit in with other kids in a positive environment, they had more self-esteem and were prone to leave those negative things alone.
Now, in addition to working with crime in the local area, what other positive influences would you have if you would become Kansas legislature, if you get the House position?
Well, I hear a lot of people say, that they would like change in the way that our government is run at the state level here in Kansas. And in District 32, which they have voted predominantly Democrat. Okay, the Kansas House is controlled mainly by a Republican majority. So it would be very difficult for someone who is a Democrat to introduce or get any type of bill passed that would benefit District 32. By electing a Republican, you have a much greater chance of that happening.
That makes sense. So you can be easier to work for your community as a Republican.
Much easier to get things done for the community. And
now, from the time I've known you, you seem very fiscally responsible.
Yes.
And I know there's a lot going on with finances, and partly due to a lot of the things with COVID, but even before that, there were a lot of fiscal issues in Topeka. including the retirement funds and wanting to use the retirement funds as a slush fund. Is that okay with you?
No, it's not. People work hard for their money. They put away money in order to be able to retire someday and enjoy life without having to worry about the stress of day-to-day expenses. And in my opinion, no one's retirement should be touched for anything other than retirement.
Now, I know it's a little bit different with police and fire because those jobs are always going to be public sector. Do you find that when you talk to a lot of people that have worked their entire life for the city government in whatever position, they've made less than they could have made in a private sector, and they've stayed with that because they knew that the retirement was part of the benefit package and they would have that when they retire?
Yes, anybody who's worked hard all their life with hopes of retiring and not having to work again doesn't want anyone touching their retirement savings, and also wants that to, I mean, you've paid into it all your life, all of your professional life, and you don't want anyone being able to take that money away or not put it there for you. And I know Governor Kelly has tried time and time again to not fund KPERS, KPERS, Kansas Public Employment Retirement System, and KPNF, which is Kansas Police and Fire. Those are the retirement systems, and you know that would impact policemen, medical personnel, firemen, teachers, just so many people that would affect, and that's just not good for Kansas. It's not good for District 32.
I'm in agreement. And what has our incumbent done with that?
She's voted with Governor Kelly time and time again.
So basically, she's okay with
pulling
out using the retirement fund as a slush fund, and hoping they can find a way to have our kids fund it.
That's correct. I'm not okay with that. I don't think that anyone should be able to touch your retirement, your savings, and use it for any other purpose besides you using it to retire.
Now, we've also recently had some additional bills, I guess not even bills, constitutional amendments to the Kansas Constitution. And it came down to that a lot of the legislature wanted the citizens themselves, Kansas citizens, to be able to vote on certain things, and it got denied. So Kansas citizens were denied their right to make their own choices. Do you want to go ahead and explain about that to us?
Well, the constitutional amendment was to let Kansas voters decide what parts of the Roe versus Wade decision would be constitutional in Kansas and which were permissible in Kansas and which parts were not permissible, such as late-term abortions or partial birth abortions. That would have given Kansans the say-so on whether or not to approve that or not.
So the incumbent didn't want to let Kansans choose?
She did not want the people who she's supposed to represent. She did not want to let them make up their own minds.
Now, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about the Kansas citizens, especially in District 32, be able to make their own choices when it comes to making laws?
As a representative of the people, you are the people's voice, and you should give the people their voice.
Excellent. So now, what else have you got for us? What other plans would you have if you were, or when you're elected into the legislature in Topeka? What are your plans and goals? Because I know you've been working on this for a while.
Obviously, some of them are going to be some crime-fighting tools to give the police better ways and more modern ways to fight crime in Kansas. Also, to do some research to find out where we don't need to be spending money. It's just like any other household. If you're on a tight budget, which the state of Kansas is, if you're on a tight budget, you cut out things that you can do without. And we need to take a look at some of those things.
So basically, it comes back to being fiscally conservative. When you run out of money, you have to quit spending.
That's correct. You know, if you're tight on money, you don't go out to an expensive restaurant. You just don't do it. So we have to find those places where we're needlessly spending money and cut those.
I like that. I think most Kansans can relate to that, because Kansans are hardworking people.
Very hardworking people.
And they have to budget their funds, and they expect the state to be able to budget theirs also.
That's correct.
Well, Greg, thank you. I appreciate it. And
Thank
we're
you.
looking forward to having you represent us for District 32.
Thank you so much.
This is Watch Kansas with Greg Conchola.